This is stuff I could talk about for hours. I love talking about my own house. I have been dreaming of owning my own house since I was about 16. I've been saving for it since then, and we still only got it by the skin of our teeth. So it's still just, this is my home. Yes, this is my home and it makes me happy. So today I wanted to talk about the smaller project. It's not the big DIY projects, but just the small little things that I've done to this house that just make it ours and more enjoyable to use. First thing is probably the bedside tables and the bedside table lamps. I made those out of a Shisham unit that I saw someone giving away for free on Facebook Marketplace, and I know for a fact that those units go for about 250 quid new. And it's Shisham, it's hardwood, and it's Shisham. Why would you chuck it? But anyway, this person was chucking it because one of the doors was slightly it had been yanked free and the wood had snapped. But the thing is, it was such an easy fix. I saw it when it came through the door and I thought wood glue and some clamps and that would have been fine. And you would never have known it was broken, but it was fine. As it is, I didn't get it for the unit, I wanted it for the wood. So I took the whole thing apart and then repurposed that wood into other projects around the house. And the two projects that I did with that I'm the most happy with are our floating bedside tables. I had originally bought some normal bedside tables when we got married, just because I wasn't thinking, and at the time I thought, bedside tables, what other kind are there? But no, as it is, kind of over the last few years we've become more and more minimalist, and I've become more and more incredibly fussy about cleaning. I don't like cleaning, and I especially don't like having to move units around to have to clean behind them. So I wanted something that could float, because also I couldn't access the drawers which are right underneath my side of the bed, because we have storage built into the bed. If we had a unit right next to it, you could never reach the drawer that was right next to your pillow. So I wanted to make something that was floating. I found these really strong brackets in Aldi. I cut out the shape of the bedside tables, sanded down the edges, polished them, used these brackets. Originally I made my side of the bed so that the brackets slotted onto the edge of the bed and I could remove my bedside table. But after a while it started to annoy me, just because it did wobble a little bit. And I just thought, you know what, if it ever gets to the point where I need to remove the bedside table because I need a cot next to me or something like that, then I'm just going to unscrew it and then I'll rescrew it later. I can't be bothered with the wobbling. But I love these, and I especially love them because one of the things that Gorathon really wanted is he wanted a bedside table lamp. As it is, I don't really do bedside table lamps. If I'm going to be reading, I prefer to read on the couch. I'm not a huge fan of reading in bed. If I'm in bed, I'm asleep. There is no reading in bed. But he really wanted one. And I was looking around and I thought, I don't want cables hanging down, and as it is, we don't have a ton of sockets in this room and they're really awkwardly placed, so it meant that one of us wasn't going to have a bedside table lamp. So instead what I found is I found these rechargeable magnetic lights that will just clip underneath it so that they're out of the way. You have the use of the entire top of that bedside table. And if you wake up in the middle of the night because you need to go to the bathroom or the baby's crying, you can take it with you. You just unclip it, you walk away, you don't disturb anyone, you don't have to turn the main light off, on, not off, on. They are so practical. I love them. I've had them for over a year now and I have no complaints. I was a bit worried when I originally bought them. I thought, oh, is this going to be one of those gimmicky things where it works for 3 months and then just dies exactly when you need it? But nope, it's been absolutely fine. And the best thing is that I can recharge them with this tiny little solar panel that I had, that my sister had when she did the Camino, and then she eventually gave it to me, and which still works beautifully. I use it to recharge the battery pack, my Kindle, sometimes my phone, and those. And they work beautifully. So the combination of those two things I am very happy with. Oh, this one. This one I was irrationally happy about. We have a coat cupboard that's right next door to the wood store that we have for our wood burn. And originally it had a door. That was one of the first things we got rid of when we moved in. And it's just, some of those doors were placed in some of the most awkward places. I just thought, why would you do this? Not only have you just wasted half the storage space in this room, it's incredibly awkward and it cuts out all the light. There's already very little light in our hallway just because there are no windows anywhere near it. So the minute you add doors, it just becomes cave-like, and it's horrible, and not in a nice kind of cave-like way, in a horrible, dark, dingy kind of way. And at the time it had carpets as well, but we took out all the doors, all the carpets, and with this coat cupboard, one of the things I knew that I wanted to do is I didn't like the kind of hooks that hook on the wall, where you just have the wall and then you have a hook that sticks out. I hate those because they screw up your coat so badly, especially if the coat's quite heavy. If it's light, you can get away with it, but if it's a heavy coat and you're hanging it by the tag, oh my gosh, the things it does to the collar, it just ruins coats. It drives me nuts. I knew if I wanted a coat cupboard, I wanted an actual bar, I wanted hangers, and I wanted to be able to hang things up properly. Another thing I knew that I wanted is I didn't want the little ones' coats to be on the same level as ours, because little ones, they make a mess all the time. It's like, hanger, coat, that doesn't make any sense, why? Straight onto the floor. And little ones tend to rummage through things and they don't care if they knock stuff off, which drives me nuts. And I'm from a big family, so I've seen all of this play out, and I wanted to be preemptive about it and just try and design things to be as practical as possible. So what I ended up doing, also because I'm not a fan of having loads of loose hangers in the cupboards and in the wardrobes, it just annoys me. Things that are in the wardrobe the hangers should be used. There shouldn't be 20 spare hangers in the wardrobe. It's really irritating. Also means that if I have a guest come round, the hangers are there already. So what I did is I did 3 rungs. The very top one, we have all the hangers, all the spare hangers. At the second top one, that's all the adult coats. And then the very bottom are all the little ones' coats. And it just keeps everything nice and open and clear. And it means that the little ones can't get to your coats, which is fantastic. So it was just a very small thing. It was something that took me a few days to paint it. I wanted the back to be green. It's this lovely dark green. You can't see it because it's a dark hallway, but I know that it's dark green and I know that it's a very pretty green, so that makes me happy. And then just cutting down the racks to size, screwing in the attachments on the wall, and it's just practical. And that makes me very, very happy, and I think it looks very pretty. But that also brings me to another thing that I absolutely love, which was a small thing that I did around the house, which are string lights. Because I was looking at possibly getting some lighting in some of the cupboards. Things like the coat cupboard, I wanted to be able to see what was in there, the boiler cupboard, and then we've got another really good storage cupboard opposite the boiler cupboard. But the problem is that this house is very old, and at some point we are going to just have to replace all the electrics. But for the moment that can't happen because we don't have the budget and we don't have the time to leave the house for 4 weeks for the whole place to get turned into a building site. So I needed to find something which would work in the meantime. And what I ended up going for were these string lights. And a little bit like with my bedside table lamps, I was worried that it was the kind of thing that I was going to use for 3 months and then it was going to die on me. These things have been fantastic because I only use rechargeable batteries. Again, it's the kind of thing I've been charging with my solar panel. As soon as the batteries go flat, which takes a good few months, then I just recharge them, stick them back in, and they are just so useful. I just put the little control on the side, turn it on when I open up the cupboard. I can see everything. I've got one in the coat cupboard, the boiler cupboard, and eventually I will have one in my wardrobe. They are fantastic because you can also cut them down to size. So if you need something which is a really big space, like I will do eventually for the wardrobe, you can get ones which are 5 meters long, 3 meters long, 2 meters long. You can get it exactly to the size you need. And if it's too long, you can actually cut it down. And I love that I can just put rechargeable batteries in it, and it helps me see cupboards without having to get an electrician round and end up with a horrifying bill, which for me is very, very good. I get the light that I need and I don't have to fork out money that I don't have. This one I was very excited about because I wanted some organisers for the boiler cupboard. Things that sometimes end up in the bathroom but I don't want in the bathroom, like essential oils. I wanted to have all of that away where I could see it. I didn't want them in shelves because my experience with shelves which are any deeper than this is that stuff always ends up at the back. And especially for things that I wanted to have more of, I like always having a backup of shampoo, soap, razors, toothpaste, things like that, toilet paper, though the toilet paper does go on the shelves. I wanted to have backup, but I didn't want them on shelves because it's just, especially with little ones, it's too easy for them to knock things over. So I wanted to use up all the space on the door. And I was looking around and eventually I found something which was made in America, so I had to import it, and I paid the horrendous import fees. But you know what, it was worth it because it just screws onto the door. I can adjust the height of the shelves. I have one of them on one door and then I have one on the other, and that holds the hot water bottles, the bean bags, things that I don't reach for that often, but then the other one has the toothpaste, the essential oils. And what I really like is it also limits me, because I know that essential oils are kind of my kryptonite. I love nice smells. So those were one of the things that I was constantly collecting, and I knew I needed to nip that in the bud or I was going to end up with 300 essential oils where I only used 20 of them. So I wanted a shelf that I knew that if I filled up more than this shelf, I needed to stop. And it's fantastic because I can see everything, it's easy to clean, it's on the door, so it uses up all this wasted storage space, and it was so easy to install as well. I still love that thing. Every time I open the door, I'm like, order, this is nice. So yeah, that is definitely one of my favorites. This should probably be first on the list, but my wood burning stove. I love that wood burning stove so much. When we moved into this house, the hot air system that it used to have, it was installed with a house in 1972, got condemned. So we had no heating and it was coming up to winter. We got a quote for having a boiler and radiators installed and it was just shy of 10 grand. We didn't have that kind of money floating around. So we thought, you know what, we wanted a wood burning stove. Let's see how much that is and let's see if it can efficiently heat in the house. And that was £1,800. So compared that to £10,000, and then also the cost of wood is so much cheaper. I love that wood burning stove. It's just, it makes the most grotty English weather bearable. It can be pouring down outside, grey skies where you haven't seen any sunlight for weeks. You put the wood burner on and suddenly everything's cozy and warm and there's the smell of burning wood and it's fantastic. You can even cook on the top of it. Normally what I'll do in the winter is I'll just have my little cast iron kettle on the top. I'll have whatever herbal tea I want to make just simmering away and I'll just crack at that over the course of the day, and it's just, and you'd think that after a while you get bored of cleaning it, but you don't have to clean it out that much, because with wood you want to try and leave a good layer of ash underneath it so that it burns hotter. And it's just, I love that wood burner. It creates the most beautiful, just warm, cozy feel, and it heats the house up so nicely. If anything, sometimes it can get too hot. Even when it's really, really cold outside, it can still get too hot in the house. And you can feel it when you walk down the stairs because this wave of warm air hits you and you're like, oh wow, that's pumping out heat. That is probably my favorite thing that we've done to the house so far. My dad helped me put this one in, and I'd wanted to get one of these just because the old tap used to drip like crazy, and I thought, you know what, if I need to replace this tap anyway, let's just go high-end, the most practical thing that you can get your hands on. And I'd seen on one of the chefs that I follow on Instagram, they'd recently had a tap installed that had a kind of flexible head as well, and what I really liked is that it wasn't one of the ones that had two knobs, which I really hate, because especially if you've just soaped your hands up, you then end up getting soap all over it. And then if your hands are dirty and you had to turn the knob to get the water going, you've cleaned your hands and then you've touched it again, and it's got kind of stuff that you had on your hands before on the knob, which then touches your hands. I just, yeah. I wanted something that I could just turn on and off by just knocking it with my wrist. Easy to clean, something where I could take the nozzle out if I needed to try and spray it directly at something, especially for things like baby bottles. Sometimes you just need to kind of direct the flow of water. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have a look and see how much this is. And as it was, I got it on sale. I think I got the tap for 40 quid, reduced from 120, something like that. So I was happy, my bargain hunter side was very happy. And I love this tap. It's so easy to turn on. I don't have to actually grab the tap. I can just knock it with my wrist, so, or even just my elbow. If my hands are really filthy and I've been out in the garden, I've been digging in mud, and I don't want to touch the tap, I can just knock it with my elbow, wash my hands, turn it off. Simple. There is no mud everywhere. There's no grimy knobs. You can, I love this tap. I really, really, really love this tap. It sounds silly, but it's the little things in your house that make you happy. Just the little things that make everyday tasks so much easier and more enjoyable. Actually, that thing about the stove being my favorite improvement, I'll take that back. The shower is my favorite We had a year in this house where we didn't have a boiler that worked, and it was miserable. We had no hot water. The only way to have any kind of hot shower or wash yourself with anything that was remotely warm was to boil the kettle, pour hot water in there, and try and wash yourself like that, and it was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. At that point I was really ill. I still hadn't physically recovered from giving birth to my son. I still had vicious stitches that still kept reopening, and ooh, that was stupid. Looking back on it, if there was one thing we should have put on the credit card, it should have been that. Oh, let me tell you, the day they installed the new boiler and the shower, the day they installed that shower, I could have kissed the guy who installed it. I was like, you don't understand, you're basically an angel. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I was so happy. And he was laughing because he said, I've never seen someone so enthusiastic about having a shower. And I was like, you don't understand. You don't understand, man. That shower, I love it. I decided that if I'd had to wait a year to get hot water, that shower was going to be the best shower experience of my life. So we got one of the rain head showers, the rainfall showers, and it was worth every bloody penny. Like, even now, if someone told me that I had to replace it tomorrow and I had to pay 3 times the amount that I originally paid, I would pay it, because having a shower with that thing, you'd feel closer to God. It's so good. It's such a good shower. That is one of my favorite home improvements, hands down. Next is my ottoman, which a lot of you will have already seen while I've been doing it up. I haven't quite finished it yet. There's one tiny little part that I still need to do, but the problem is that I'm not sure what to put there, and I don't want to put something in there that's going to be a placeholder. So I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to see what I need, and if in a few months I still haven't got something that I need to put there, I'm just going to find another piece of cork. I will cover that up, I will paint it, so at the very least the lid looks finished. And it will just be an open, empty space for if I ever need to fill it. If not, it can just be empty space. It's okay to have empty space. We don't have to fill everything with stuff. But this ottoman, I love it. It's so nice being able to just have somewhere where I can have my skincare, my makeup, my jewellery, just to sit down there first thing in the morning, last thing at night, clean my face, brush my hair, just a little bit of a pamper session, and to be able to lock it so no little fingers can scuff up another mascara and another lipstick. I'm still a little bit heartbroken about that, because he managed to find my favourite lipstick. He didn't go for the least favourite, no, he went for my favourite, turned it while the lid was still on and scuffed it up. It's still usable, but it still hurts my soul every time I look at it, and I think I'm so sorry. So I love that ottoman. I love the locks that keep it safe, and I like just having a nice little vanity area that's multi-purpose, because most people see that and they think, oh, it's just a seat. And I'm like, no, it's a lot more than a seat. It's basically Aladdin's cave. So I love that ottoman. The last one hasn't been done, but I know I'm gonna love it, and I'm not doing it, which is another reason why I love it, because I had planned to do this a few months ago, which is our wardrobe. Now, to be fair, there is nothing hugely wrong with this wardrobe. It's a semi-functioning wardrobe. But one of the things that drives me nuts, apart from the fact that you can still see all the water damage from the roof issues that we had, which are now fixed, is that part of it is blocked off, and that part is my half of the wardrobe. So there are always clothes which end up back there, which get damaged. And the first month that we moved in, I had my scarves in there, and because you can't see what's going on back there, we got a few moths, which were either living in the carpet or snuck in through the window, and they chewed on my favourite scarves. And you've also seen that video probably where I had to embroider over the hole. So if there's one thing I don't want, it's a cupboard where I can't see everything that I have, and I can't see that moths get in there. I want something that's open, that I can see exactly what I have. I can see if there's any stowaways who've snuck in there that I don't want. So I did want to do this myself, and I designed it because I wanted to make it so that it was a lot more practical, because there was so much wasted space, and it's also not easy to clean. There was all this wasted space above where I thought you could have another shelf there. There's no reason to not have another shelf there, and also the shelf that we currently have sags in the middle. It was just all these little things, you know, it needed space so that I could have all the duvet covers stored away, and I'd designed it to make it as practical as possible so that Gorathon and I both had an equal amount of space. and it also restricted me on my clothes, because I know there are a few things I know that I can hoard like nobody's business. Art supplies, clothes, makeup. So I need to limit the amount of space I have for that, because otherwise it is too easy to go overboard. So I wanted to make sure it was exactly 50-50, to really think about everything that I had in there. But then I just got a little too pregnant and a little too Breton and a little too tired, and I thought, you know what, let's just look and see how much it will cost for someone else to do it, because someone who knows what they're doing and they're not figuring it out on the way, they're going to get that done in 3 days. It's going to take me 3 weeks, and that's 3 weeks where my room is going to be a bomb site. There'll be dust everywhere. I'm going to be frustrated because I will inevitably get to the DIY wall part where you think, no, I've messed up, what am I doing? And I hate that part. You always have to push through it, and you get through it and you realise, oh yes, I've done it, but it's still frustrating as hell. I thought, you know what, is it worth it? In the end, no, it wasn't worth it, because it wasn't even that much to have someone come around and do it. Someone who was going to do a beautiful job. So I thought, you know what, Claire, just save up for it, get the wardrobe done by a professional, it's going to look beautiful. You're not going to accidentally do yourself damage from pushing yourself too far, which you're very good at. And so it's not done yet, but it will be done by the time this video goes up, so I will be able to show you how the beautiful new wardrobe looks, and I am very, very excited. Those are my small house favourites. Some of them are bigger than others, but they're not huge projects like some of the projects that we have done around this house, like tiling the entire downstairs floor and putting down floorboards and completely redoing the downstairs toilet. That was a very big project. There's still a lot of other big projects we need to do. I still hate the bathroom with a passion. It's just, there are many reasons I hate this bathroom, but basically plumbing should work and it doesn't. And it's not fun, but it's really also not the end of the world. I don't care. I have hot water. I have no complaints. So really that bathroom is the least of my concerns. I have hot running water, I have a wood burning stove, and I have a wardrobe that looks pretty. So really life is great. So yeah, those are my favourite little house improvements, the small things that I've done around the house that have just made it a little bit more enjoyable, more practical, and just makes my inner minimalist very, very happy. So yeah, those are my favourite small house improvements. I hope you like the video, and I'll have a new one for you soon.
If you like my content and want to follow me on Patreon, that's where you can find my early content, extra content, and see the thought process behind things like my books, cover designs, videos, and artwork. You can also find me on Instagram, but the best place to follow me and make sure that all my new content is sent directly to you is through my website and the mailing list. On the top right hand corner, you put your name, the email you want your new content to be sent to, and that's it. You're done.